What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. It is time for the Bundesliga finale, the final game week. Bayern Munich have won the league. Holstein, Kiel and Bochum have been relegated. There's still a slight chance that we see Heidenheim escape from the depths of the relegation playoffs, but the main focus is, of course, the Champions League spots, first to fourth, with three teams fighting for two spots. Those teams being Eintracht Frankfurt and Freiburg, who play each other, and Borussia Dortmund as well, who have a real chance to jump into the top four after a great run of form in the latter stages of the season. Real quick, flashing up on the screen all of the people that are supporting me over on the Patreon. It's the support on the Patreon and everything like that that has allowed me to really get stuck in with La Liga, Serie A and Bundesliga since the start of the new year. I was a little bit apprehensive when I announced that if we reached 30,000 subscribers, I would put a lot more time into the channel in terms of making all these videos, but I've really enjoyed it and you guys have really got plenty of value from it. We just came off of another Serie A video where we had 3 perfect score predictions. For some reason, in Italy, probably due to the fact that games tend to be lower scoring, we just get so many perfect scores. But this is the Bundesliga, so if you want to shout out in every single video, you want access to exclusive members, tips and accumulators, feel free to join the Patreon down below. If you want to wait until next season, by all means do that. But let's get stuck in with the Bundesliga. First up, we do have Augsburg up against Union Berlin. Both teams nothing to play for. I'm just going to shade it to home form and go for a 2-1. The tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.57. After this, we have Borussia Dortmund up against Holstein Kiel, who will play their final game in the Bundesliga. As I said, Borussia Dortmund, a phenomenal run of form. 6 wins out of their last 7. Incredible stuff. All the way to the final day to potentially get into the Champions League spots. I mean, it started out as such a poor season for them. They were mid-table for a lot of it, sitting around 10th place. And it really looks like they are the favourites to get one of the Champions League spaces. Absolutely. I think they will. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to absolutely batter Kiel here. And I'm going to go for a 5-1 win. I thought about Borussia Dortmund and both teams to score. I thought about both teams scoring over, but I've just gone with over 3.5 goals at 1.61. Sometimes when you think Dortmund are going to win with both teams to score, they chuck a 4-0 in there. I think we had one recently. There we go, against Wolfsburg. They beat Bayer Leverkusen 4-2. We tipped that over on the Patreon as well. They're absolutely gunning for that top 4 space, and I think they're going to get it with a win here and beating Holstein Kiel with a 5-1 victory. After this, it's Borussia Monchengladbach up against Wolfsburg. We correctly predicted that Wolfsburg would draw 2-2 with Hoffenheim last time out. I'm going to go for the exact same scoreline, 2-2. And the tip is going to be both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at 1.57. I think this game starts at 1-1 and there's going to be a third goal. So I think that's more or less a banker with that one. Following this, we have St. Pauli up against Bochum. Now, in theory, St. Pauli could... I mean, I don't think they can go down, right? If Bochum win like 6-0 and Heidenheim win like 7-0, then sure, St. Pauli could go down, but it's just not going to happen. That even if Heidenheim win, the goal difference for St. Pauli is far superior. But I do think they're going to just get a 1-0 win, and the tip is going to be St. Pauli to win at 1.75. Bochum, the bottom of the Bundesliga, the worst team of the season, winless in the last 7. I'm going to say that St. Pauli get the job done and secure, I guess you could say, their spot in the Bundesliga next season. After this, it is the big one. It's Freiburg up against Eintracht Frankfurt. The winner of this game gets Champions League football next season. Likelihood is the loser of this game, potentially not. In fact, if Frankfurt lose and Borussia Dortmund win by the 4 goals that we've predicted, then Frankfurt will drop out of the top 4 because Freiburg would go on to 58 points. Borussia Dortmund would go on to 57 points with Frankfurt. They're currently 3 goal difference behind them. So if Frankfurt lose, that brings the deficit down to at least 2. And if Dortmund win by 4, they leapfrog them. So for all Frankfurt need to do is not lose this game. If Frankfurt don't lose, they get Champions League football. Freiburg, of course, have to win, I would say. I mean, obviously, they could draw and Dortmund could also draw or lose, and they both get in. But I think it's safe to say Borussia Dortmund are going to beat Holstein Kiel. So basically, Frankfurt need to avoid defeat, Freiburg need to win, and I'm going to shade it to Eintracht Frankfurt and go for a 1-1 draw. The tip is going to be both teams score at 1.5. Obviously, there is a world in which this result happens and both teams get Champions League football. If, let's say, 80 minutes in, they get word at the ground that Borussia Dortmund are losing to Holstein Kiel, they might just pass it around the back and settle for a draw and both go to the Champions League. But we all know Dortmund are going to be leading by halftime. There's not going to be any of that nonsense. Dortmund are going to win. So either Freiburg win and get Champions League football, or Freiburg don't win and Eintracht Frankfurt get Champions League football. And I do think, as I've now said the results of these three teams, I do think it will be Borussia Dortmund and Eintracht Frankfurt making up the third and fourth spot, and Freiburg going to the Europa League with this 1-1 draw. Now, after this is Heidenheim up against Werder Bremen. There is a small chance that Heidenheim don't get relegated because of the goal difference and the point situation, but it's a big one. Heidenheim, with a win, would go on the same points as Hoffenheim, but as it stands, their goal difference is 6 goals worse off. So they'd need to make up a 6-goal swing. But Tsg Hoffenheim play leaders Bayern Munich. So there actually is a chance. If Bayern Munich are that way inclined and go and beat Hoffenheim 5-0 and Heidenheim win this one 2-0, they would stay up on goal difference with a 6-goal swing. If there was ever a team that could help Heidenheim out, it's Bayern Munich. However, they'd have to beat a Werder Bremen side who hasn't lost in their last 7 games. I do think they're going to do it though. Why not? I'll go for a 2-1 win. The tip is going to be Heidenheim double chance and both teams to score. So with this, Bayern Munich would need to win by 5, that would make it equal, or 6 goals against Hoffenheim for Heidenheim to stay up. Do I think that's going to happen? Honestly, I don't, but it'd be quite funny to see a goal swing that big on the final day. So I'll say that Heidenheim get the win and miss out on goal difference, but the tip, as I said, is Heidenheim double chance of both teams to score up 2.1. After this, it is Hoffenheim up against Bayern Munich. So if this were to happen and Bayern Munich won 6-0, then Hoffenheim would get relegated on goal difference with that massive advantage going into it. I do think Bayern Munich are going to win. They are better, but I think Hoffenheim are going to score a couple of goals and just make sure. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go for a 3-2 win to Bayern Munich, and the tip is going to be Bayern and both teams to score at 2.2. The odds are low, but I think Bayern Munich will win on their final day, even though they don't have to. But Hoffenheim will be playing for their lives to make sure they don't get absolutely battered. So I'll go for 3-2. It'd be so funny, if Heidenheim take a late lead against Bremen and Bayern Munich are like 4-0 up. Oh my goodness, can you imagine? Either way, Bayern Munich and both teams to score. Next up, we have Mainz up against Bayer Leverkusen. This is a big game for Mainz because they'll be playing for a spot in the Conference League, and I just don't think they're going to get it. I know Bayer Leverkusen have nothing to play for, essentially, and they did lose out to Dortmund, but I just think Bayer Leverkusen are going to win on the final day. I'm going to go 2-1, and the tip is Bayer Leverkusen to win. I've got odds of 2.3 here, but since writing these tips down, the odds have clearly increased massively. I still think Bayer Leverkusen to win. I just think they're better, so I'm going to say that. They've only lost 3 games all season, which is mental. One of them being against Borussia Dortmund. So 2-1 to Bayer Leverkusen. And the final game, RB Leipzig up against Stuttgart. Now, Stuttgart can't get any form of European football. However, if Mainz do lose to Leverkusen, or even if they draw to Leverkusen, a win for Leipzig takes them into the Europa Conference League. And that would be huge for them because I think they would be the favourites to win that competition. I think next season, thinking about the other leagues, there aren't really any teams that could come close to RB Leipzig. You might have the likes of Nottingham Forest from the Premier League. I don't even know about Serie A and La Liga, who's sort of kicking around there. Maybe Real Betis, Celta Vigo even. I think it won't be Betis. I think they'll be higher up. It'd be something like Celta Vigo from Spain. Serie A, there could be a contender. But if RB Leipzig win this and get into the Conference League, I'd chuck an early, wager on RB Leipzig winning the Conference League next season because they are a good team, albeit winless in their last 4. I think they're going to win this one. I think it's going to be high scoring. I'm going to say 3-2. And the tip, I'm going to go both teams scoring over 2.5 goals at 1.57. I think that's a guarantee, to be honest. Stuttgart winning their last 2 games. Augsburg 4-0. St. Pauli 1-0. Leipzig drawing to Werder Bremen 0-0. And drawing with Bayern Munich 3-3. The most RB Leipzig run of results you will ever see. But I think Leipzig can win this. And with the other results, will secure a spot to the Conference League that I really do think they have a brilliant chance to win. Because on their day, Leipzig are a Champions League side. Definitely a Europa League side. And I think if they're in the Europa League, I think they'd go far and potentially win it. But Conference League, I think Leipzig would absolutely walk that competition, and they have a really good chance to get it here. So these are my picks for the final day. Unfortunately, I guess you could say nothing other than the favourites like outcomes happening, with Freiburg dropping out of the Champions League spaces, Dortmund taking it, so Freiburg going to the Europa League, Mainz dropping out of the European spaces after a very good season at the hands of Bayer Leverkusen, and Leipzig securing Conference League. And despite a spirited win from Heidenheim, Hoffenheim not getting beaten by enough from Bayern Munich to be relegated. So that is what I think is going to happen in the final day of the Bundesliga. Thank you so much to everyone that has tuned in for this series. I've really enjoyed it. Drop a like if you have as well. Subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.